Welcome to another episode of China Update, where I provide you guys with the most up-to-date political, economic, and geostrategic analysis on the world's #2 economy. My name is Tony. Let's jump in. Okay, happy Wednesday everybody. This week the southern megacity of Guangzhou, also known as Canton in English, at the heart of the Pearl River Delta, announced that it will be pumping 200 billion yuan, $29.2 billion US, into two new funds to invest across a whole set of sectors, but especially advanced technology generally and semiconductors specifically. The vehicles are structured as Fund of Funds, FOSs, set up by state-owned Guangzhou Industrial Investment and Capital Operation Holdings Group Limited. According to the announcement, Guangzhou Industry Investment Fund Co. will have 150 billion yuan to invest in, quote, mid to large-scale projects in sectors including chips, new energy, biomedicine, healthcare, manufacturing, IT, and e-commerce. End quote. The other 50 billion yuan is earmarked for, quote, early-stage investments in tech startups. End quote. This is one of the biggest injections of fiscal spending like this that we have seen in China at the city level. While on paper this sounds like a promising idea, the policy announcement has already drawn criticism domestically. The two principal criticisms have been whether this is the most productive use of these funds, and the question of whether the funds can find enough investable qualified projects in the region. There is also this. Quote, the argument used by those who support the policy will be, of course, that the inevitable success in high-tech ventures will trickle down to create jobs and income growth. But this is only true if demand for production grows as fast as production. This was the same justification for infinite supply-side policies in Japan in the 1980s. In a demand-constrained economy, however, this can only happen if exports grow much faster than imports. In spite of an already huge surplus, hardening international attitudes, and evidence of weakening global demand, rather than seriously trying to boost domestic demand, China is still implicitly betting on a high savings, export-led strategy. End quote. Next up for the economy, on Monday the China Securities Regulatory Commission announced the establishment of property-focused private equity (PE) investment funds as part of a pilot program hoping to attract the capital of foreign investors. According to the plan, which was also published on Monday, qualified PE managers will be permitted to set up funds dedicated to investing in residential property, including unfinished projects, affordable homes and rental projects, as well as commercial real estate and infrastructure. This is quite a liberalization of these asset classes to foreign money, and yet another sign of how desperate policymakers are getting to breathe life into the battered property sector. A market which, as we can see here, has been contracting since mid-2021. Property sales by floor area dropped 24.3% in 2022 from a year earlier, the most since data became available in 1992. In 2022, China's property development investment fell 10%, its first decline since 1997. Applications for the registration of the new funds will open on March the 1st. Caveat emptor. Meanwhile, while we're on the property sector, Chinese financial media outlet Caixin writes today that, unsurprisingly, quote, Chinese property developers expect to report barrels of red ink for 2022 as sales declined and the value of their unsold homes fell. End quote. New data from Wind Information Co. shows that as of the 21st of February, 66 of 119 publicly traded Chinese real estate companies issued 2022 earnings estimates, and well over half said they expect to report a net loss, which has been loosely estimated at over 100 billion RMB, $14.55 billion US for 2022. Next up, more details on Xi's new global initiative. Hey guys, if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to hit that like button. It does appear that YouTube is no longer showing these episodes to new viewers, so if you know anyone who would enjoy this sort of content, sharing the channel is also a huge help. And for anyone who wants to go that extra mile and help keep the channel financially sustainable, Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee links are in the description below. I hope that this channel will always be primarily supported by subscribers. As always, thank you so much everybody for the ongoing support. Yesterday, China's foreign minister, former ambassador to the US, Qin Gang, released a concept paper on Xi Jinping's new foreign policy initiative, the so-called Global Security Initiative. Beijing has signalled that this initiative will likely be a signature policy for Xi Jinping, on the same level of importance as the Belt and Road Initiative, perhaps even more so. Some have even predicted that it's the beginning of a Xi vision of a more Sinocentric alternative world order. Quote, like BRI, this is a signature issue for Xi, so underestimate how hard the PRC will push this at your peril. It is another initiative to undermine the US and its allies and their global order, and it will likely have a lot more takers than the US would like to believe. End quote. Whether this claim is accurate or not, the Global Security Initiative is certainly important enough for us to follow closely. As such, we need to examine this concept paper and the official commentary accompanying it. In April of 2022, General Secretary Xi Jinping put forward the Global Security Initiative for the first time, which, quote, aims to create a new path to security that features dialogue over confrontation, partnership over alliance, and win-win over zero-sum. It provides a new course and new approach to addressing the root causes of international conflicts and solving security challenges facing humanity. End quote. In the words of the General Secretary himself. The GSI concept paper was published after Foreign Minister Qin Gang delivered a keynote speech at the Lanting Forum, which is organized by the PRC Foreign Ministry. During the keynote speech, Qin made several notable points, which give us an idea of how Beijing will likely try to pitch the policy to some countries. Quote, the GSI is rooted in the fine traditional Chinese culture that values peace above everything else and is inspired by China's independent foreign policy of peace and its practices. The GSI intends to serve the interests of all and protect tranquility for all. Its advances need the unity and cooperation of the international community. End quote. Okay then, what does the document itself say? Well, we should note that it's a concept paper, so it only unpacks high-level concepts rather than specific policies. The paper lays out 20 priorities of, quote, cooperation in response to the most significant and pressing international security concerns at present. End quote. The paper opens by expressing, quote, today our world, our times and history are changing in ways like never before, and the international community is confronted with multiple risks and challenges rarely seen before. Regional security hotspots keep flaring up. Local conflicts and turbulence occur frequently. The COVID-19 pandemic persists. Unilateralism and protectionism have risen significantly, and traditional and non-traditional security threats are intertwined. The deficits in peace, development, security, and governance are growing, and the world is once again at a crossroads in history. End quote. The document puts forward 6 key concepts and principles, namely 1. Stay committed to the vision of common, comprehensive, cooperative and sustainable security. 2. Stay committed to respecting the sovereignty and territorial integrity of all countries. 3. Stay committed to abiding the purposes and principles of the UN Charter. 4. Stay committed to taking the legitimate security concerns of all countries seriously. We note that this is the language that Beijing used when it first defended Russia's invasion of Ukraine. 5. Stay committed to peacefully resolving differences and disputes between countries through dialogue and consultation. And 6. Stay committed to maintaining security in both traditional and non-traditional domains. The paper then shows its Marxist parentage by adding, after the list, quote, these 6 commitments are interlinked and mutually reinforcing and are an organic whole of dialectical unity. End quote. Of course, Chinese commentators and state media were quick to heap praise on the new initiative for its wisdom and superiority over Western concepts of global order. For example, quote, President Xi first proposed a new vision for security which goes beyond traditional security ideas and power politics in the West. It transcends the long-term practice of Western countries of building their own security on the basis of jeopardizing the security of other countries. End quote. And, quote, in contrast to the West, China is pushing forward a new type of international relations that are inclusive and balanced, tackling challenges together and achieve the security for all. End quote. We should expect more on the Global Security Initiative in the coming months, as well as efforts from Beijing to sell it to countries around the world. Okay, that is today's episode of China Update. Thank you so much everybody for watching. Have a wonderful day wherever you are, and I will see you all tomorrow.